Prepare to enter a world where time itself is broken. In this story, you will witness a remote research station where the ghostly moments of the past replay on an endless, terrifying loop. The cryptic final logs of a dead crew that reveal the station isn't a laboratory, it's a cage. A predatory phenomenon that doesn't just replay memories, but actively tries to create new, violent ones. And the horrifying discovery that she wasn't sent here to study the echoes, she was sent to become one. The coffee cup fell twice. The first time, it slipped from her grasp, shattering on the cold, metallic floor. The second time, a perfect, ghostly replay of the first, it fell right through the floor, dissolving into nothingness before it could break. This was normal at Station Obsidian. Dr. Aris Thorne was the station's lone occupant, a chronocartographer assigned to the most beautiful and terrifying place in the known universe, the Sea of Glass, a desert not of sand, but of crystalline black silica, a place where the past didn't just fade, it lingered, it echoed. But today the echoes were different, and she was about to learn that this desert didn't just remember, it hunted. Station Obsidian was a marvel of isolation, a single steel teardrop in an ocean of black glass. Aris's job was to map the echoes, harmless, repeating phantoms of the station's first crew. She'd see the ghost of the lead geologist, Dr. Kyle, pacing his office. She'd see mechanics laughing over a game of cards, their forms transparent and silent. They were like faded photographs, looping every few hours, predictable, safe. The station was powered by the Great Echo, the most powerful temporal anomaly on the planet. A constant, stable loop of the station's initial activation sequence. Or so she was told, but the loops were changing. The coffee cup was the first sign. It was a new echo, something that had just happened. Later, she saw an echo of herself walking down a corridor she hadn't been in for hours. It stopped and looked right at her before fading. Echoes weren't supposed to interact. They weren't supposed to be self-aware. The station's AI, Warden, offered no answers. Temporal fluctuations are within acceptable parameters, it would drone in its monotone voice. A gnawing unease led Aris to the station's sealed archives, a digital vault left by the original director, Dr. Kyle, who had supposedly died in a simple equipment malfunction. She bypassed 3 layers of corporate lockdown, her heart pounding in the silent control room. She found his private journal. Its contents turned her blood to ice. The Sea of Glass wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was an intelligence. A non-corporeal entity that existed in shattered time. The echoes weren't memories, they were bait. Kyle wrote that the entity fed on moments of intense emotion, especially fear and pain, replaying them to savor the energy. The Great Echo that powered the station wasn't the activation sequence. It was the synchronized, looping deaths of the entire original crew. Kyle's final, frantic entry revealed the whole truth. "It's not a power source, it's a prison," he wrote. Their dying moments, trapped in a perfect repeating loop, create a temporal cage around the entity. It keeps it contained. The corporation knew. Station Obsidian wasn't a research outpost. It was a sacrificial watchtower. And the Great Echo was fading. After a century, the energy of the loop was weakening. The cage was breaking. The entity was getting hungry. The final line of the journal was a death sentence. The new cartographer arrives in a week. They say she's here to recalibrate the sensors. She's not. She's fuel. Aris felt the floor drop out from beneath her. She wasn't a scientist. She was the next sacrifice. Her death was meant to be the new, powerful echo that would reinforce the cage for another century. The station wasn't malfunctioning. It was preparing the slaughterhouse. The glitches, the new echoes of her, it was the entity studying her, tasting her potential. It was learning her patterns, preparing to create the perfect fatal loop. She ran to the medical bay, her mind racing. On the security monitor, she saw herself standing there. Next to her on the floor was a faint, shimmering echo of her own body lying in a pool of blood. It was a premonition, a prediction. The entity was showing her how she was going to die. The station's lights flickered and died, plunging her into emergency lighting. "Containment protocols engaged," Warden's voice announced calmly. The doors were now sealed. She was trapped. The hunt had begun. She saw them in the corridors, phantoms made of fractured black glass, shaped like the dead crew members. But these weren't passive echoes. They were physical. They were the entity's antibodies. It was trying to replicate Kyle's records of the crew's deaths, with her as the victim. A glass phantom of a mechanic swung a spectral wrench at her, passing harmlessly through her body but leaving her shivering with temporal frostbite. It was trying to scare her, to heighten the emotional energy of her final moments. Aris realized she couldn't fight it physically. She had to outthink a being that existed outside of linear time. Kyle's journal had one last desperate idea. It feeds on patterns, on coherent data. A paradox, a signal with no pattern, pure chaos, might blind it. Her mission was no longer escape. It was to erase herself from the equation. She had to get to the central broadcast spire, the antenna used to monitor the Great Echo. She raced through the station, the glass phantoms always one step behind her. The station itself turned against her, creating loops to trap her. A door would open into the same corridor she'd just left. A ladder would extend infinitely upwards. She was a rat in a temporal maze. She used her knowledge as a cartographer, navigating the station not by its physical layout, but by the rhythm and timing of the echoes. She used the ghost of Kyle pacing his office as a distraction, drawing the phantoms away. She reached the base of the spire, a massive antenna piercing the heart of the station. The phantoms cornered her, their forms solidifying, their glassy claws ready to tear her apart. She slammed her hand on the emergency console, bypassing the safeties. She didn't broadcast a rescue signal. She didn't broadcast an alarm. She routed the station's sensor feed directly into its broadcast feed. The sensors were designed to listen to the void, to the background radiation of space. They were designed to record perfect, meaningless static. She was about to broadcast pure, unadulterated nothingness directly into the heart of the entity. "Warden, broadcast null feed on all frequencies," she screamed. "Action is paradoxical and will destabilize the Great Echo," the AI warned. "Do it!" A soundless shockwave of pure static erupted from the spire. The glass phantoms froze. For a being that fed on patterns and memory, pure chaos was poison. They began to crack, fissures of light spreading across their dark forms. With a final silent scream, they shattered into a billion motes of harmless dust. All around the station, every echo, Kyle, the mechanics, even the coffee cup, dissolved into nothing. The Great Echo, the cage of dying moments, collapsed. The silence that followed was absolute. The desert had forgotten how to remember. Aris stood alone in the now inert station, the hum of the echoes gone forever. She had survived. She had won. But she was now the sole occupant of a dead station in the middle of a silent, empty world. The story of Dr. Aris Thorne is a chilling reminder that some things are worse than ghosts, and that the most terrifying prisons are not made of walls, but of memories. If you were captivated by this journey into a living nightmare, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing for more stories that question reality. Now, we ask you, if you had the chance, would you erase a painful memory, even if it meant losing a piece of who you are? Let us know in the comments below.